Good morning, Team Alabama. Here is the last chapter of Stuck in Neutral. What's going to happen to Sean? Dad's at the house. We're not sure why he's there, but we're a little worried. Sean knows what he thinks, and nobody else really has a clue. Everybody else is away from the house. Mom is visiting. Paul is playing a game, and she took Cindy with her. So nobody is there. He sent the babysitter home, or the respite care provider, Vonda. So chapter 16, what happens to Sean? It starts with the poem, again, like all the other chapters do. We sat in the silent darkness. I felt my baby dreaming, or my baby dreaming. His breath was Lindy and me saying goodbye. His breath was my grandfather breathing. His breath was my father loving us. His breath was my breath. We breathed as one. I hear Dad come into the room. I wait calmly. There's nothing else I can do. I am not afraid. My breathing is easy. I feel steady, relaxed, and alert. Whatever my dad has decided, whatever he decides, I can't know whether it's right or wrong because I don't really know what is for the best. Maybe death is nothing like I saw that day when the dog died. Maybe death is simply flying free forever. I just don't know. Hey, buddy, Dad says, and he comes to my bed. He lowers the side and he sits next to me. He's quiet. He reaches down to the foot of my bed and in the corner where a quilted pillow lies. He grabs the pillow and sets it in his lap. My eyes happen to focus on the pillow. Mom had the quilted cover years ago, maybe even before Dad left us. There's a pattern of checkered blocks, light blue and off-white, and a thin band of dark burgundy along the edge. That dark reddish band of color reminds me of the way blood looks in black and white movies. What literary device does the author use right there? Maybe a little bit of foreshadowing? The burgundy reminds me of blood. Not sure. I'm remembering a part of Dad's poem, the night that he almost ended it all. I remember Earl Detro's description of killing his son. How did Earl Detro kill his son? With a pillow. What is Sean thinking here? Dad has a pillow. Dad says, his eyes sad, I hope you know I love you. I've always loved you. He pauses, careful in his words. I can tell he's rehearsed some of this. He shifts the pillow nervously in his lap, his hands kneading the cushion. He reaches over and takes my hands. Double jointed, he says, setting them on the pillow on his lap. He gently bends his thumbs into right angles and bends his own too, just you and me. I think the words, I love you too, Dad, trying to will them into his mind. Dad breathes slowly, staring at our hands. He's trying to maintain control, fighting back his tears and looking at me. Sean, I've always loved you, he repeats, his voice soft and trembling. The weight of his words and the thoughts seem to tug on him like a necklace of concrete blocks. Like concrete blocks. That's another literary device that the author uses here. When an author uses like or as, what is that? If you said simile, you are correct. He squeezes the pillow hard, blood draining from his knuckles. I know I say I love you too easily, and that the words collapse in meaning when they're said too many times, but no one will ever know what I mean by love as I say it to you, unless that person has gone through what we have. Unless he's going through it right now. Dad breaks down. Through soft sobs, he struggles to get the words out. I hear his words. Never does a day go by when I don't think about you. Never does an hour pass when I don't wonder how you are and how you're feeling. The word love doesn't touch what I feel about you, for you. He pauses, regaining his composure. Composure might be a great word to add to your vocab. I will the words I love you too over and over. My eyes happen to shift to his face, and I watch his expression as he talks. I've never noticed before how much older he's getting. His skin is smooth and he's still handsome, but he looks almost frail. Frail would be another great word to add to your vocab. Frail is what somebody looks when they get really old. They're fragile, they're frail. His eyes look like they've seen too much sadness. The creases around them are deep. He says, when I think about you, Sean, my heart breaks at one moment and is at peace the next. And when I think about you hurting, I can barely even breathe. My chest aches so badly, and I sometimes pray, just let this all be over. He seems suddenly stronger again, almost angry as he adds, when you were born and we were told that you'd have these kinds of problems, do you know that I got down on my knees and prayed harder than I've ever prayed, begging God or Satan or anybody in between to let me trade places with you? I prayed night after night that I could be the one trapped inside your body and that you could take my place. I prayed so hard for weeks and months that I almost started believing in God. He laughs at his irony. I guess we know how that worked out. His voice turns hard. I could never find words strong enough to express the hate I felt towards God when those prayers went unanswered. It took years for me to answer it on that armistice. God was patient, he sighs. Nothing is ever easy, is it, Sean? Nothing is ever like it seems. You know, none of us really knows you. I mean, it takes just as much faith on our part to believe that you're retarded as it would to believe that you're a genius. He chuckles a little at that one. Well, maybe genius is pushing it. But you know what I mean. What if you understand everything? What if you know what I've been thinking of doing, but you can't do anything about it? He searches for the right words, and I see the pain in his face and his body, and his shoulders down and his neck stiff, his hands quivering. So many answers you can't provide, but does that mean that you don't understand the questions? What would you tell me to do, Sean? I dreamed about you the other night. I dreamed that you talked to me. I can't remember what you said. Were you happy, sad? I can't remember. He seems tired from all the words. I don't know what to do, son, he says, his voice exhausted. I watch his chest rise. It's as though he is lifting himself up one last time, a final stand. I see the pillow in his lap. He pauses and takes a deep breath. Slow down. Has it all come down to this? With his thumbnail, he unconsciously tugs at a loose thread on one corner of the pillow, sliding the thread over and over between the nail and the flesh. My eyes have been shifting all over the place, but now suddenly, as if by some miracle, I look up directly at my dad. Our eyes lock. I see in my father's expression that he is staring back at me. We are somehow together again, like that night in my dream when we spoke. Dad stares not just at me, but into me. In all my life, we have never been like this before. Sean? He says softly. Son, he begins. Tears come back into his eyes again as we sit in this strange, impossible moment. I love you, Dad says again. I call the words out silently from the deepest part of my heart. I love you too, Dad. Wishing that I could say it, wishing he could hear. But before either of us can speak again, I feel crackle, crackle, crackle. I can't tell what's going to happen next. My seizure begins to spin slowly through me. What will my dad do? Whatever it is, in another moment, I'll be flying free. Either way, whatever he does, I'll be soaring. That's the end of this book. And in all of the years past when we've read this, the class always groans and hates the way this book ends, because it ends at a cliffhanger and you're not really sure what the author's going to do. But there is a sequel to this book. So you can look up the title of that, and that is one that you could read next if you want to. Okay, you should be finished with your 50 facts. You should be ready to send those to me. At this time, those are due. And next week, I'll be putting a 0 in the grade book if you don't have those finished. A reminder that you should also be getting your autobiography turned in, and I'll be putting a grade in for that. So if you haven't finished either of those things, You need to finish your facts for Stuck in Neutral, your questions and your vocab for Stuck in Neutral, and your autobiography. In the tab on the assignment page in Canvas, there's a template. And on our Zoom calls, we've talked about the autobiography. If you need specific help, you need me to give you a call, please just email me and I will call you and walk you through how to finish that up. Or if you want to send it to me and you're not quite finished with it, but you want me to give you some suggestions, I'll gladly do that as well. Have a great rest of your day, Team Alabama, and we will start our new book. Our new book is one of my favorites, and it is called Don't You Dare Read This, Mrs. Dunfree. Have a great rest of your day.